Ferrari is about to do the unimaginable, throw everything they have at the car, introducing numerous and big updates in the span of weeks. And then, hope. In these coming 3 races, Ferrari hopes to get the car back at the front of the grid with some insane upgrades. Ferrari is dealing with the almost dramatic technical balance of the first half of the season. The SF25 fell short of the high expectations that had been set at the start of the year. The car proved to be semi-unknown in the initial laps of testing, causing Maranello to realize that it would have to contend with significant, completely unforeseen restrictions. Aside from the disqualification, Miami was a low moment for Fred Vassar's team, with the car 5th fastest behind the Williams on a challenging track, nearly a minute behind the McLaren. A scenario that could not have been imagined in the most gloomy projections at the start of the year. The post-GP debrief provided numerous opportunities for reflection, with Lewis Hamilton specifically discussing the implementation of some track decisions. Florida did not provide much of a nice experience. Looking at the data, it appears that Ferrari was a year behind in development, as evidenced by the MCL39's average deficit. The race for updates may not be enough, which is why Loic Serra appears to have decided to fight for improvements to the mechanical platform, namely, interventions to the rear suspension. This realization prompted a strategic reappraisal. As Ferrari attempts to rebound ahead of its home race in Imola, all eyes are on what route the team will take next, and how aggressive those steps will be. The SF25's flaws stem from the concept itself. The puzzle has been solved, and the development strategy has shifted. Imola is one of the Prancing Horse team's 2 major home events. Thus, despite the challenges, there is a lot of expectation around the team. Ferrari comes in Imola with simulator work still in progress, with both Prancing Horse drivers working hard to get the best setup possible, an aspect that proved challenging in Miami. Based on what we know about the SF25's evolution, we could say that the development program has altered significantly. All of this has occurred since the SF25's fundamental flaws appeared, which are constrained by a rear end that mechanically prevents it from fully exploiting the surface's aerodynamic requirements. The potential that Frederic Vasseur refers to is veiled behind a single-seater that cannot express the true aerodynamic load available, as shown in only a few glimpses of the season's first half. Project 677 altered the entire mechanical platform in comparison to the SF24, including a new front layout and a newly redesigned and aggressive rear suspension idea, despite the use of a tie rod. Someone in Jess's corridors feels there was a mistake in the car's operation. In other words, they misinterpreted the aero-mechanical platform, sticking to some notions from the old car despite the major alterations. While the team determines what can be salvaged or reset from the current platform, the more immediate fact is that the next Imola enhancements will not be groundbreaking. In Emilia-Romagna, no great deal. In 2024, the updated SF24 arrived in Imola. Today, we wait to see and hear what happens with the Spanish directive. If the effort is worthwhile, the revisions in 2025 will be significant. The wind tunnel simulation data has always provided very favorable feedback in terms of load created, but this cannot be completely utilized. With the troubles discovered in Australia, Loic Serra has conducted an interim investigation into the SF25 dilemma, even considering a probable and practically concrete in-season intervention on the rear mechanics. All of this has resulted in a reorganization of the SF25 development plans, with the exception of the Bahrain package, which was determined prior to Australia. Last year, the Imola race was one of the most important stages of the year in terms of growth, but this year on the banks of the Santerno River, it is worth noting that the option of including an upgraded SF25 in the floor or body has never been considered. Everything has been postponed until after the Spanish Grand Prix, and decisions and time are currently being worked out. Barcelona is a watershed moment in the technical understanding of how the balance of cars with stiffer wings will change, particularly for teams that have relied heavily on front-end deformation. Ferrari's stance on technical directives has been fairly neutral on the potential benefits and drawbacks of tightening the static controls of the front wings, But it is no coincidence that many teams are planning large evolutionary packages for the floor and body after Spain. So, with patience running thin and performance stagnate, Ferrari flies to Imola to explore tiny aspects in the hopes of unlocking larger gains. At Imola, Serra will be working quietly, while Ferrari will try an experimental rear brake grip. This is not a coincidence. Loic Serra, the technical director, is anticipated to return to the track and monitor activities from inside the Scuderia garages. Auto Racer reports that Imola will be around with no substantial new features on the SF25. The red car will perform a one-off test at the Enzo and Dino Ferrari circuit using a new rear brake duct that has been upgraded in the internal ducts for aerodynamic reasons, as well as different cooling management. As previously stated, Ferrari and other teams are clearly attempting to duplicate the McLaren effect in order to avoid scorching the rear tyres via the internal fluid dynamics of the baskets. The test will be a real-world experiment on the track to see the effect on the tyres and to confirm any advantages and disadvantages under conditions that are difficult to accurately recreate in simulation. As previously stated, in Bahrain, the rear brake intake was updated in the internal ducts. Even if this type of modification may not be listed in the lists of technical breakthroughs that the FIA distributes every race weekend, so it is possible that this one will also be excluded. The changes will also affect the wheel corner, where the fins in the interior area of the brake intake will be changed. Meanwhile, Fred Vasseur is downplaying the possibility of Imola being a turnaround point, arguing that Barcelona, not Imola, is the key battleground to watch. Ferrari team principal Fred Vasseur feels the Spanish Grand Prix might be a turning point in terms of performance at the front of the grid, implying that there will be only minor upgrades until then. The upcoming Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix in Imola has been regarded as a prospective location for significant modifications for several of the grid, given its proximity to the various team factories and the fact that it is the opening race of a triple header. However, Vasseur sees the more strict front-wing flexibility tests that will be introduced in Barcelona as the crucial point of the upcoming run, and dismisses the possibility of a substantial package being taken to Imola. For sure, everybody will have a new front wing in Barcelona, Vasseur informed the crowd. By definition and by regulation, I think it will be perhaps a reset of the performance of everybody. Between now and Barcelona, we have Imola and Monaco, where we will bring some small upgrades. But honestly, I think the main issue today for us, if you consider McLaren, it's a matter of exploiting the potential better compared to the others. And I think the focus of the team in the next two races is to put everything together and to get the best out of the car. Vasseur claims the track records of both Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton convince him that the maximum potential of the car was used in Miami from a driver's point of view, as the duo qualified 8th and 12th respectively. I trust completely Charles and Lewis. Charles, if you have a look at the last 5 years, and Lewis is the record holder of the competition, they are able to do the job in qualifying. Both of them, it's one of their characteristics. And today it's not the case with this car. It means that we have to improve, and we have to do a much better job at this stage of the weekend. Leclerc agrees with Vasseur that the car is considerably limiting the driver's performance, even if the recent race in Miami was overshadowed by team order discussions as the pair attempted to chase down Kimi Antonelli's Mercedes. "We need to work together for sure," Leclerc said. "I think we will be quite aligned on the fact that Miami wasn't the Sunday we wanted, and even though the pace is not there, I don't think there were any miracles. If everything would have gone perfectly, maybe we would have finished in front of Kimi, but that's it. There wasn't much more in the car, so I think we need to separate the two things. Yes, we need to fix those issues that probably cost us one position, but the other 7 or 6 positions are down to the car. This we need to make better. The question is if the improvements will be enough. What do you think? Are Ferrari able to produce an upgrade good enough to bring them back to the front of the grid? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.